This is a bad time to start being bashful now. Yeah, right?
You're gonna make us cry.
Oh, wow.
My muse right here.
You'll almost make me cry in public, to be quite frank. It's quite an honor to be here. I'm here with my sons, Aaron and Ty, and one of my 4 grandchildren. And I realized, I'm sure that's why we're having fun. I've been in Birmingham now for 22 years. I came here in 2004, and I'm going to kind of run through a chronology, if I may, as to how I got involved with the railroad park. It was quite accidental, I must say. When you hear the story, you won't believe it. But my version of the story has everything to do with when and where I entered. Here's my history briefly. I'm from DC. Product of DC Public Schools, got a full scholarship to Syracuse University in architecture, became the first Black woman to graduate from Syracuse in architecture.
Yeah! Woo!
Architecture is a 5-year program, and 2 of those 5 years I spent in London at the Architectural Association studying under the great cultural geographer Paul Oliver in world history, and then my architecture critics were Archibrand Group, very avant-garde, off-the-wall, walking cities, came to class wearing spacesuits. And then I finished Syracuse and went to Columbia and got my Master's of Science in Urban Regional Planning, ran into my mentor for life, the great Max Bond, who was the architect of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute and also the King Center in Atlanta. I taught at Howard University. I've lectured all over the world. And I landed here in Birmingham quite accidentally, I have to tell you. I was summoned to Atlanta in '96 to become a senior master planner for the '96 Olympics. As the Olympics sunset, Mayor Bill Campbell there elevated me to his cabinet as Director of Economic Development for the city of Atlanta post-Olympic. Shirley Franklin came in, put me on her cabinet as Chief of Urban Design and Urban Development for City of Atlanta. And then I get a call from Bernard Kincaid asking me if I'd be interested in coming to Birmingham to run his $200 million capital bond program. And I was like, Phillips Arena was one of my projects. That one project was $200 million. The Atlanta Aquarium was a $200 million project. So for me, a $200 million cachet for an entire city was right up my alley. He gave me an offer I could not refuse. He also beat my Atlanta salary. So I came running over here, and the first person who interviewed me was Bill Gilchrist. Half of my interview was in English, and the other half was in French. As you know, Bill is multilingual, and he is my hero and my knight in shining armor. So here's my story. I landed in Birmingham, 2004, May, around Mother's Day. And 2 months later, I get a call from the legal department. Jim Stanley called me. He says, I know you're new, but I just wanted to let you know, because you're Capital Projects makes me kind of the advisor to the mayor on all brick and mortar projects in the city. Public housing, streets, sewers, lighting, everything that the city owns, including vacant land, which included the railroad park land. So Jim Stanley says, as a courtesy, I'm letting you know we have a group up here called Friends of the Railroad, and we're getting ready to sign a 20-year lease for 20 acres of land for $1 a year. And I'm like, excuse me, you've got to be kidding. First of all, I could not believe, having lived in New York and London and Paris, that there was a 20-acre piece of land mid-city that had not been developed. I mean, that's your high card in every city. So I said, well, let me see what they had planned. And let me tell you, what happened accidentally was I stopped the contract. And so needless to say, I had Ellen Elsis and also Giles Perkins marching to my office saying, what the heck are you talking about? This is what we're going to be doing. This is the picture. The picture at the top was a very passive park with just benches and a couple of shrubs around it. And I went to Mayor Kincaid, I says, there's no way, we cannot do it this way. This is where monumentalism in terms of urban design occurs. We have Central Park, we've got Hyde Park in London, we have Rene'S Park in Chicago. We've got to do something big. So I got anointed and appointed by the Mayor Kincaid to present some ideas for his consideration. And Bill mentioned it, it just so happened that the Museum of Modern Art in New York was having a blockbuster landscape architecture show. They invited the top 23 architects, landscape architects from around the world to show their work. And we saw Tom Leader's Shanghai carpet, which shared the exact same linearity as our beloved park here. So needless to say, we voted Tom Leader in. That's me with Tom Leader doing his first walk at the park. And from there, I must have put together a slideshow of more than 200 parks from around the world and shared them with Friends of the Railroad District. And I said, these are the kinds of things that we should do on the city-owned land in order to rejuvenate downtown. And building also on past visions. I think the thing that makes the Railroad Park so grand is the fact that it was a perfect constellation. It was a perfect alignment of stars. Going back to the Olmsted Plan in 1924, Frank Seltzer's vision, ULI's vision, UDA's vision, and then in comes accidentally Renee Kemp-Rotan. Now, keep in mind that one part of my career, I also was Director of Design Demonstrations for the National Endowment for the Arts. And also I was Director of National Design Competitions for the National Endowment for the Arts. So design excellence was very high on my professional card. And I was so very grateful to have a knight in shining armor like Bill Gilchrist, who were on the phone constantly. He was telling me of all of the dreams and aspirations of this community over time. Because you know, Rome was not built in a day. It has taken hundreds of volunteers, hundreds and hundreds of meetings, citizen engagement meetings, civic engagement meetings, asking the community what they wanted to see. A number of case studies. This is some of my work in Atlanta in the Olympics. So I'm bringing case studies to the table. Tom Leader is bringing case studies to the table. The community is also participating. And so really it was an act of God that we were able to have such great constellation of all of these wonderful, wonderful people with energies. Giles Perkins on the private sector side. Elizabeth Bobby Tasker, I'll never forget her coming to my office. Ellen Elsis, who insisted on having the park. Dick Pickford. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And I'm so very proud, in fact, to be a part of this missive. These are just some snapshots, Cheryl. In fact, we took a lot of these pictures, I must say, of all of the civic engagement meetings that we had over the course of 2 years. There were lunches with the mayor, there were lunches with city council, we had meetings at City Hall, there's Gilchrist at the Setzer building, there's Tom Leader at Dick Pickford's place, Architecture Works. There were workshops at UAB because UAB was also doing a master plan. So whatever it was that we were doing with the park had to also agree and integrate with what was coming down the pipe through UAB. Tom Leader brought a number of folding models to the table. So the community was able to participate as one body moving in the same direction to make something absolutely grand happen. This is one of my favorite pictures at the top. This is me with about 10 directors of departments at City Hall who also had to collaborate. There's a lot of collaboration behind the scenes to pull off a park such as this. The city was able to raise $12.5 million, and then we had Kate Nielsen with Community Foundation who raised $8.7 million to make it happen through a very generous corporate community. So in 2012, this park beat out the High Line in New York by Durham Video and became one of the leading parks in America. And one last thing that I'll say, the reason that this park is so totally successful is because, in the words of ULI, this park was a culmination of a long process of consultation and participation, highlighting the public-private partnership model par excellence. And I thank you for this award.